If you paid attention to AI for half a minute, you would notice that like once a month, twice a month, there's new models, there's new this, there's new that. Every single day of a month, there's probably some new models somewhere that's dropping for something, some new tool, some new, wrapper, something is dropping, and it becomes overwhelming. And it's like, okay, where do I start? And that's, I think, the hardest part too, is where do you start?
Yeah, and you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Art of Mortgage Marketing podcast. And today we have a very special interview with the one and only Luke Shankula, who is an absolute savant when it comes to AI in general and closing deals with AI in particular. So I think you're going to find this fascinating. I'm joined with the one and only Penny Wrightley as my co-host here, co-captain, if you will. And so we're going to dive in and just peel back Luke's cranium and share all the good stuff, what he's learned on the front lines of capitalism when it comes to how to use AI profitably, effectively. Give you a little background. Luke is the founder of Direct Authority AI, a coaching program that helps mortgage pros use AI to attract more clients, streamline their operations, and ultimately close more deals. If it's not helping you close more deals, frankly, why are we even talking about it? It amounts to a hill of beans, right? So at the end of the day, we're going to talk about how to do exactly that today. AI, of course, is changing every single day. It's hard to keep up with, but it's here to stay. And it's the way business gets done: faster, easier, better, working smarter as opposed to working harder. And this conversation isn't about chasing the next bright, shiny object or learning a few clever prompts. It's about building practical systems that save time, energy, effort, increase productivity, and help you grow your business faster than ever before. So super stoked to dive in. Luke, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, thank you so much for having me. And again, that's quite the intro.
Hey, it always helps when it's all true, right? That always helps. Beats the alternative. Yeah. We'll take it. Yeah. So I know I could give a whole lot more accolades and background on you, but for the sake of brevity and the fact that we just like to dive in and get into the good stuff, we're going to do exactly that. So why don't we start things off with my first question that just, is bouncing right off the page as I took some notes around what sort of things I want to ask you today is, you've been a leading voice, a leading authority in the space when it comes to using AI, specifically in the mortgage industry, how to grow a mortgage professional's closings and volume and income. How did you get deep into AI? And at what point did you realize that this wasn't just another bright, shiny object, but was here to stay and something that was going to be fundamentally a game changer in business in general, and in particular in the mortgage industry? I'm curious.
So for the last, 8 years, I have basically helped loan officers primarily go direct to consumer, sort of market, show up differently, get to the consumer so they can use that for leverage, things like that, right? So when ChatGPT came out in 2022, I think November of 2022, somewhere around there, I got an account and I was like, this is cool. Like, this is awesome, right? I can do cool things. And back then it was like, oh yeah, you can create a haiku, right? It's like, sweet. But like the awesomeness of that wears off pretty quickly when it comes to using these tools. And I was like, man, like this is dumb. Like it doesn't do anything well. I tried creating a couple ads. I tried to create ad copy and stuff like that for our Facebook ads. And I was trying to do some things like emails, copy. And I'm like, this just sucks. It's just terrible. And so I kind of left it to the side, right? So I was using it, but not I wasn't seeing that it was giving me the results I wanted, which is probably familiar to almost everyone that is listening to this podcast. Is like, man, I tried AI, it didn't work, or just we didn't like the output and things like that. And so as I started to use it more, I became familiar. I bought a couple courses, I bought a couple things. I was part of a couple communities that were sort of on the frontier edge of AI. And so I kind of learned this concept of creating a persona, and this is kind of back into the early days where you really needed to have these complex prompts and you will act as X and here's what you're going to do. And here's the context and here's your role. And here's all of the different sort of elements of a prompt. And what I realized was that it wasn't that AI was bad at the things that I wanted it to do is that I was, at the time, not prompting it correctly. Now, of course, over the last, 3, 4, 5 years, it has evolved quite a bit from there. We could talk a little bit more about that. But like, what got me really into AI is I'm ADHD, as probably a lot of people that are listening to this are. And I have always been a fan of finding shortcuts, right? So a mentor of mine used to say this concept, and it really resonated with me. He's like, man, if you tell me to peel a bag of potatoes as fast as I can, I'm gonna peel those potatoes as fast as I can. I'm gonna figure out every possible way to create a shortcut and do it as fast as possible. But you ask me to peel the potatoes the second time, heck no, I ain't gonna do that. You know what I mean? Like, and so that kind of like resonated with me. Like, that's what I loved about AI was this allowed me to create shortcuts. And once I started to learn how to use it, in particular for my business purposes, so I started using it for myself, right? How can I use it to replicate or solve the problems that I am currently experiencing myself, right? So what are the things that I'm currently doing that I can use AI to help me produce more of, right? Whether it's content, emails, webinars, whatever it was that I was trying to work on at the time. And so it was just kind of this evolution of like, okay, well, how can I leverage these things? And then it became a little bit of the shiny object, let's be honest, is the ADHD hyperfixation. And with AI, it just never stops. Like, you could go down a rabbit hole and just never find the bottom of the hole. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then over the last, randomly, I started talking about this. How I started teaching loan officers, to be honest, was I started talking about it on social, and I was just getting bombarded with questions. And because like a year and a half ago, it was early, I guess. I mean, I didn't feel like I was early. I still felt like it was like, I had been using it already for 2 or 3 years. But the marketing world seems to attach to tech way quicker than the mortgage world, as we know. And so I started talking about it. I started talking about how I'm using it, and people were just asking. I actually talked to my team because we were basically running a pure agency at the time, just helping loan officers generate leads and get to consumers and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, what if we just put together this little like coaching community, like $97 a month, nothing crazy, like just let's do it as a little side thing. So we did it, and then here we are a year later. We have over 200 members, and it's been fun because I realized that while everybody talks about AI, most people, I want to say no one, most people are not actually using AI in any sort of practical way that has any impact on their business.
Amazing. So it sounds like you're what some people might consider a kryptonite with your ADHD, where you're, having a hard time focusing. That's typically what people treat as like a problem, right? I got ADHD, I can't focus. That's actually lended itself to become your superpower when it comes to, having that curiosity and having that, thirst for learning more and more about this wide world realm called the AI expansion that's just absolutely exploded over the last few years. It's crazy. It came out in 2022, ChatGPT. I still remember to this day. I remember my brother-in-law showing it to me, and I was just like, are you kidding me? It can draw that thing, just like this robot's drawing that really cool picture. And then the next thing you know, I'm the funniest thing I did with it early in its launch is my neighbor, his wife, that was like they were newly married. His wife, which was his second wife, she was a bit of a wingnut, and she worshiped crows, and she was feeding the crows. And all of a sudden we had a murder of crows next door. You can imagine the cacophony and crazy that came with that, right? So I'm like, how can I gently, politely ask my neighbor to stop feeding the crows? So I asked ChatGPT to write me a poem that I could send to him by text that would be kind of like funny, but also, kind of cute and endearing. Well, needless to say, I thought it was hilarious, but he didn't. And so that was my first introduction to ChatGPT in terms of practical ways to use AI with the neighbor,
Hilarious. So
it's funny, all the crazy ways we can use AI. But now here you are in 2026. You've got a rabid following that continues to grow. You've obviously got an acumen that's much sharper and deeper than most when it comes to all the different ways you can use AI effectively. And so you started to post about it. People were asking you more questions, and next thing you know, people are handing over money every month to learn more from, your Yoda smart mastery of this domain that again is like a bottomless pit of, expansion. There seems to be no end to it. Tell me about kind of the biggest myth or misconception that's keeping mortgage professionals from embracing AI. Because it seems like there's kind of like three different camps in AI. There's the first movers. That's not me. It took me forever to start using AI. So those are like, they're all over it like white on rice. As soon as it comes out, they're using it and leveraging it. And so they're the first movers, the first adopters. That wasn't me, admittedly, as embarrassing as to say, because I'm in marketing. So you'd think that I would be, but I was like, I don't know. It seems like it's just kind of a little bit hokey doke. I couldn't see the application of it, unless I wanted to write a poem to my neighbor every day.
Right.
And then there's the next camp, which is like, they're kind of like quasi users. They kind of use it a little bit, but, it's kind of rare, and they only use it in a very anemic way compared to the full breadth and width of what's possible. And then there's the Luddites that drag their heels, and they're not on social, they don't use AI, they still have a landline, those kind of guys. So taking that into account, what keeps the Luddites and the slow adopters or the anemic adopters from applying and leveraging and profiting from AI in your mind? What are the big misconceptions, and what's it costing them in terms of, money, freedom, and all that, all the good stuff?
I guess those probably fall into a couple camps. There's the AI haters. There's like a big sort of realm. Maybe that doesn't apply to originators, but I would say it probably does. There's
right. Those are the ones you think it's like, idol worship or something, like, it's of the devil.
That, or like the water usage, or it's a plagiarism machine or whatever. I've heard all kinds of different things, and while I can see that point of view, I also understand that the world is changing, just like with the internet, just like with any sort of technological advancement in the past. The world is changing, and so pretty quickly, I think there's the people that understand that when technology changes, there is a first mover's advantage. And if you can become one of the first to use a platform, like think about Facebook ads in the early days, right? Like how cheap and easy, even like when I first got into marketing, 2017, 2018, man, those days were fantastic, man. Like, you could target almost anything. Like, and now, all right, you just pretty much let the AI do it, is kind of what Facebook wants us to do these days. And what's interesting is that, there's the people that start early, then there's like those middle people. And I think the biggest, I think there's two things. One, there's fear / overwhelm / this isn't, I think there's, because of that sort of like first time use, if you don't know how to use AI, you don't sort of have this comprehension around like, what are the practical applications to my business, right? And so like, that's how I started as well, right? Like I was like, this is dumb. Like it doesn't apply to my business, so why would I use it? Right? I can't write good emails with it. I can't write good Facebook ad copy. It doesn't outperform my human written stuff. Like, and so it didn't make a lot of practical sense. And so until you're actually using it and like understand the fundamentals and understand how to prompt and how to structure context and those things, it's hard to sort of like, okay, well, what can I do with it? And one of the reasons, I just got off our first day of our AI summit today that we do every month, or usually every 6 weeks or so. And so what we do is we just bring on loan officers, like, here's how this loan officer is using AI. Here's how this other loan officer is using AI. Then obviously from my perspective, I talk about marketing, what's the landscape of of everything looking like. And the reality is we're all still pretty early, let's be honest. And the reality of the world of AI outside of like these small bubble of like AI users, we're very early in AI. And especially from the perspective of like very small percentage of people are actually paying for AI. Right. So most people are just using a free version. So I think you talk about people that are like just dragging their feet. I really don't think you're that far behind. I think so many people talk about AI. I mean, you go to any conference, you're talking out about AI. I got invited to an AI conference. I wager 80% of the people there didn't actually know anything about AI, nor like when we're using the ChatGPT. No, you're not using the ChatGPT, dude. Like you're not. There was like 3 people there that I felt like actually understood the real applications of AI into the back end of a business, and all of it was operational. And so I started to see that like everybody's talking about operational AI, which means underwriting, all the things that like create systems that create more profitability for an organization. But for a loan officer, doesn't really matter, because guess what? A loan officer doesn't really care that who underwrites their file, whether it's AI or a human. If the file gets done, there's not issues. Like they don't really care that it gets done. I mean, maybe they care a little bit that it's done faster, but they don't really. That's not a thing that matters to them. And so to me, it was like a lot of it was like, how can we create? I realized I'm teaching marketing via the lens of AI, right? And so that's kind of where we talk about like creating business. I don't think people understand the power of AI, and it's just like consumer direct. I never saw consumer direct, in my opinion, as unless you wanted to build a call center. To me, consumer direct, that concept for a loan officer was leverage. The same way I view AI. AI is leverage. If you want to work with agents, you need to figure out a way to create leverage, bring value, sound different, look different, approach business from a different perspective. And I think AI right now is one of the easiest ways to do that. But anyway, that's not the question you asked. But I do think a lot of times people just don't see any practical application, and therefore they just ignore it, right? It's like, it's easy to be like, well, it doesn't really work for me, or I've tried it, didn't work. Interestingly enough, I had a consulting client who their marketing people got on the call and we talked about AI, and they're like, yeah, we've tried the AI, doing AI stuff before. It just never came out. And then like 2 weeks later, we're like creating assets with my consulting client, and he's like the sort of like the co-owner of the brokerage. And the marketing person was like getting nervous that like we were creating such great assets straight from AI that they were like a little bit nervous. They're like, am I going to get replaced? We're like, we're not trying to replace them. We're trying to help them, build systems. But it just was interesting because it's like once you understand how it all works, how understand how prompting works, the fundamentals, how to there's a lot of little fundamental pieces that, when applied correctly, will magically open the door to possibilities and opportunities. But you need to get in there and try it. And when you're busy with loans, it's like, when do you spend the time to do that? So I think that's a big push there, is just like, and then fear. I mean, fear of trying something and it not working. It's overwhelming. I mean, I say this every time. I'm overwhelmed by AI, and I am in it every single day. I mean, if you paid attention to AI for half a minute, you would notice that like once a month, twice a month, there's new models, there's new this, there's new that. Every single day of a month, there's probably some new models somewhere that's dropping for something, some new tool, some new, wrapper, something is dropping, and it becomes overwhelming. And it's like, okay, where do I start? And that's, I think, the hardest part too, is where do you start?
Yeah, and you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great, right? So a lot of people, they want to be great out the gate before they even take their first step, and that stops them, the perfectionism-itis, if you will, where they have to have it all figured out, T's crossed, I's dotted before they get started, or they just break into hives just at the mere thought of getting into techie stuff because they're not propeller heads and they're not techie, based on their own admission. So yeah, a lot of that could certainly be a big stopper. And the thing about anything, certainly in business, when it comes to skills that we don't know, that we need to have, that we don't have, that's causing us to leave a lot of money on the table, a lot of juice in the fruit when it comes to increasing our productivity. It's kind of insidious, right? Because we don't know how much extra time we're wasting that we could save if we had higher efficiencies with something like AI. We don't know how many deals we're leaving on the table to our competitors. If we were actually using AI, we'd be able to take that money off the table and put it in our pocket where it belongs. We don't realize how much, just staring at the computer with the keyboard in writer's block we would have, that we'd avoid if we knew how to use AI properly. So a lot of times it's just, we don't know that we don't know of the things that we could be getting AI to do that we just didn't even realize it has the capacity to do. Like recently I got it to create a 6-module training program for my salespeople to train them, to certify them. And previously it would have taken me like 2 weeks to create one PowerPoint. I was able to rock out a complete 2-week worth of, work that would have just been a ton of drudgery using Claude in like, I don't know, it was maybe a multiple iteration process that would take me maybe 2 to 3 hours. It used to take me 2 weeks. So like I had no idea until I found out Claude creates PowerPoints. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And that's the sort of thing I pick up from Penny, because she's pretty, cutting edge when it comes to using AI and learning AI as well. Penny, anything you'd like to stack on that in terms of the conversation around the things that tend to hold people back from using AI or even being curious about learning about AI?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I notice, certainly with the people that I work with on a regular basis, is many people seem to only think that AI is really just for, improving upon emails. I think that is one of the first things that people started using, Claude or ChatGPT for. And so I think that is also holding people back, when it comes to the myths and misconceptions about AI. So that is something that I've certainly seen as well. So I don't know if that's something you've noticed as well, Luke, with maybe something that's held people back is they're thinking, the only reason they use ChatGPT or that they even open it as an app, it's open on my computer all the time. I use it constantly for all kinds of different things. I'm using it to analyze things. I'm uploading PDFs and I'm uploading Excel sheets and having it analyze like data and all kinds of things, right? So I'm using it for a lot of different purposes. I've connected it with other apps as well, and I have it create things for me. It's creating PowerPoints. It's creating, different display material and things like that for me as well. So I'm using it for a lot of different reasons. And so I think that's maybe something that's held a lot of people back too. Is that something you've seen as well? Is that maybe something that's holding people back, is they don't realize that it's for more than just simply writing an email?
Yeah, I would say that I remember meeting with a client about a year ago, and he tells me, "Oh, I'm advanced. I'm probably an advanced user." So I get into like, this conversation with him, and I'm like, "Oh, so like, have you created a project? Do you have project instructions? Have you uploaded knowledge documents in there? Like, have you, did have any of that stuff?" He was using project, but wasn't using all the other stuff. And it was like, it's interesting because I do think that the limitations of AI are limited by your imagination or your ability to get around people that are doing stuff with AI that's like incomprehensible, right? Like and then this is what I love about the community. We have people in our community that, if you guys are familiar with things like OpenClaw and Hermes and like basically agentic sort of harnesses like that, we have people that have done that, and then we have people that like can hardly log into ChatGPT and don't know how to take a screenshot, right? Like, and the reason why these guys that are more advanced join, because like there's ideas that still come out of this, even if it's like a simple like I showed the other day, I showed how to create custom GPTs that you can share with your real estate agents, and it was just a headshot creator for that loan officers could create and hand off to real estate agents. And one of the guys who literally has a Hermes agent, has done all kinds of like really like crazy stuff with agents, he's like, "Oh my gosh, that was so great," and this was like just little things like that just getting around a community of people that are doing creative things with AI also will open up your imagination to like what's possible in the world of AI. Like people are doing like crazy stuff that you would never even think about. And the ways that we can provide value to agents, obviously your own world. Like if you can, most people haven't set up connectors. They're not using Cowork or ChatGPT work. They're like, they haven't even gotten past level 1. And I think some of them maybe are resistant to it, but other ones, they just don't understand. They don't get it. They're not around it. And for us that are like super deep into it, it's very easy to be like, everybody's doing this, everybody's in this. The reality is it's not like that. Most people are using ChatGPT or Claude like a search engine. They have just replaced Google with ChatGPT, and they think that is the amount of times that I say, "Have you used deep research?" Most people don't even know what deep research is. And so I just think part of it is, if you're worried about AI or feel like you're advanced with AI and you're not getting in circles of people that are like deep in the AI world, like you need to, because it'll just open up your imagination. And even if you're overwhelmed the first week or the second week or the fourth week or the 10th week, as you do it, you're going to start to absorb these concepts, and see how other people are doing it and figure it out. And like, I don't know. That's why you guys have your community, that has, top producers. Cause like, top producers can learn from other top producers. It's interesting how, what is it? That concept here, the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
That's
I
right.
think most people are spending time with a bunch of people that are, still using the fax machine, and they're wondering why the world has changed around them.
Going the way of Blockbuster, going the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm a big fan of those old school strategies as well. I think the cold calling and cold emailing and going in person, like all of those things are like so powerful. But what if you could pair it with little tools and little things that you can provide, or, like now you're doing the old school strategies that most people are unwilling to do these days, but you have something of real value. And I know people say, what's value? Well, if you say what's value, like, I'm sorry, but you're not trying hard enough. There's YouTube and AI these days. Like you can find 150,000 things that are valuable to your partners or consumers, that like, it's not an excuse anymore. You can't have the excuses. I don't know how to do this. It's not an excuse. Knowledge is not the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. As Tony Robbins says, we're drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom, which is the application of knowledge, the application of information. And that's what creates the transformation. So I 100% concur. So if I'm a mortgage pro on 100% commission, I eat what I kill with no safety net, and I don't want to have skinny kids, and I want to use AI to close more deals over the next 12 months, what are the top 3 highest leverage, highest ROI strategies for using AI today that are working on the front lines today?
I mean, I think it's a super simple thing that everybody should be doing. Everybody likes to work with agents already. Everybody wants to complain about agents. They say X, Y, Z, they're not loyal, they're this, that, and the other. The reality is most loan officers have zero value proposition. They close on time, they answer the phone, whatever, right? Like, what if, crazy idea, you go on YouTube, you watch a couple videos about AI, you implement some of those things into AI, maybe you figure out how to set up a Claude project, and heaven forbid, you call up a couple agents and say, hey, I learned this thing. Would you be down if I showed you this thing and did a little webinar or presentation once a month? Like, do you think if you were like giving them that sort of value, that would turn into business? Like that's something that we have people doing. They're literally teaching classes.
So can I give you a pushback on that?
Yeah.
So what if they're like, yeah, but isn't every other Tom, Dick, and Harry calling these same realtors for the last 5 years with rates going up? Isn't everyone pounding down the same door? Why are they going to give me the time of day just because I'm, giving them some new AI trick? Like, how do you get, obviously in our program, we teach people how to flip the scripts so that the realtor needs the mortgage pro more than the mortgage pro needs the realtor. We teach them how to make that overture, how to get the appointment, how to do the appointment. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is like certainty and confidence. They're lacking certainty and confidence. They have imposter syndrome, and they're lacking certainty around the execution and the value, the tangible, transformative impact that whatever tool or value add is actually going to make. If they had sufficient certainty, they'd have mojo oozing out of their pores, but they don't. They have imposter syndrome. So what's like an AI tactic or strategy that if they were to just leverage that strategy with the right partner, it would make such an impact for that right partner, such that that partner starts sending them all their business all the time because they become their irreplaceable hero. Give me like a tangible strategy that you think that you've seen work for mortgage professionals that just blows realtors away.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're talking about for someone who doesn't have high certainty around that, because I think you should be like, first thing is you should become a practitioner, right? Like, and so I do think that being a practitioner creates certainty around the thing that you're doing. And as soon as you get around people, you're going to realize that no one effing knows a thing about AI. They really don't. But if you don't have that certainty, it's really like, we have literally taught people how to create a flyer on ChatGPT, especially when it first came out. Now it's been a little bit, so that might not work as well now, but like literally, like most agents are creating the worst flyers with ChatGPT, by the way, because they have terrible prompts. They don't know how to, anyway, but it was literally about creating a flyer. So for example, there was a realtor that like had been working with this agent or with this loan officer for a while, but it was like kind of like off and on. And anyway, she sent her this little flyer that had her as like the agent weekly, just a little flyer with like, just to make her have a better day, right? Like that was like just one thing that she's like, oh my gosh, you just made my whole day. I feel like it's something stupid like that, right? Like I just, the reality is, from everything that we see, the 90% of loan officers are approaching agents, like you said, they've all been calling for 5 years. I actually disagree. I don't think they've been calling. I don't think most loan officers actually call, despite everybody talking about calling agents every single Monday. I don't think they actually call. From everything that I've ever talked to, if every loan officer I've ever talked to, top producers, the top performers are doing it, but the average loan officers are not doing that. And so I really
would
think
agree.
it's not
I would concur. Just getting people to make 10 calls a day is like, pushing soggy needles up hills and herding cats, but you're right. The top dogs do it. They do it consistently. It's just like push-ups. They just do their daily push-ups. It's just something they do. And that's why they make champion money, because they're willing to do the things most people aren't willing to do so they can get the results most people aren't going to get. But that's another story altogether. But if you think about it, there's still thousands of LOs that are dabbling with their outbound calls, and all that dabbling amounts to, the realtor's door getting pounded on a regular. So obviously, we have to have something of unique value. We can't just be another loan leech mortgage parasite. What have you seen? What are the top 3 ways that you've seen mortgage pros either leading by example, being a practitioner that really are highly effective in their own business in terms of closing more deals, and or being able to take that, translate it, and say, hey, realtor, this is working for me, and I can show you how it can work for you. What are the top 3 that you think are if you had to choose 3, if your life depended on helping a mortgage pro win on the front lines of capitalism using AI, what would be the top 3 that you'd recommend, that you'd force them to use?
I think, I know you push back on me, but I think running a monthly webinar or in-person seminar teaching AI, and I don't mean the AI class your mortgage company gave you that's 4 years old and talks about prompts the whole time and yada, yada, yada. I'm saying being a practitioner and saying, hey, here's the process specifically step by step to set up a newsletter in Claude, step by step. Here's how to create a 2-1 buy down calculator, maybe not a 2-1 buy down calculator, a cost of waiting calculator, and doing classes like that where you're actually doing that once a month. We have a loan officer that does, who's now partnered with title companies. The title companies are promoting it for him. He's doing those locally. He now has basically brand new audience of people that are coming into these classes. He's at a builder. He's got multiple larger sort of, they're coming to these classes. And interestingly enough, we talked, so Marissa, my second in command, she has connections with some top agents, right? And so she reached out to them, what would you want to, if you were hearing from a loan officer, what would you rather have? Someone that can teach you how to use Claude in your business, or someone that wants to basically co-market spend with you? And basically, they all said, I would rather you teach me how to actually implement AI into my business. They said the only people that are going to ask for money are going to be people that are low-producing loan agents are going to ask for marketing spend.
Right.
Because most producing agents already have lead funnels. They don't need to spend unless they're the lead heavy type, but it was just interesting. So that's one thing that I would do. I'm always of the mind of creating content is a super powerful way to build warmness before you cold call people. So I personally, if I was a loan officer, I would never probably cold call someone. It would always be a warmish call, because in the world of social media, you can add them, you can create valuable content, you can DM them. And a lot of that can be AI, even as simple as creating a custom GPT tool and saying, hey, I created this tool for agents. Here it is. If you want to check it out. That is just another simple way. And again, we've had several loan officers that have done that. I had one loan officer that he joined us about a year ago in this platform. Didn't know how to post on social media, started to post. He's generating a lot of business just from social media, but that's not short, right? Content takes time. So I think the best way, if I were a loan officer, I would focus a big portion of my energy for 90 to 180 days on how can I create the sexiest offer possible that I can get in front of as many agents as possible. And part of that is going to be creating, valuable content. Part of that's going to be creating webinars and driving people to that, whether it's through paid ads. Most loan officers aren't going to have the knowledge to do paid ads. So use your network. You post on social media, hit up your title companies and say, hey, like, would you be willing to co-sponsor this? I think there's a lot of ways to do that, but then you have to be a practitioner. You actually have to be good at the thing you do. I see a lot of times loan officers will do these, we're doing a training on video. You go look at their Facebook page and they have not a single video that's ever posted. I'm like, that doesn't work, right? You have to be doing the thing that you're, that, exactly. You have to be a practitioner. Like, I mean, you talked about certainty. You don't create certainty by hoping someone will give you the magical PDF or PowerPoint presentation that will have agents drop in their panties to work with you. Like, it doesn't exist. There's no magical prompt. It all becomes, how can you become a person of value? And there's a million
100%.
ways to do that. Obviously, one of those things is AI, but I think AI just be creative. All you have to do is show up and be different. And we've seen this time and time and time again across a lot of those, but I think the offer, this is one of the first things we talk to people about, is like creating an offer. I'm sure you guys do this as well, but it's just like, what is the thing of value that, how do you think through your entire process when you're communicating with an agent? What are the 3 to 5 pillars that you have on which you're giving them value that sounds completely different than everybody else?
Yeah. Well, I concur 100%. I mean, you're echoing the words of the late and great Albert Einstein, where he said, don't seek to be a person of success, seek to be a person of value. And so, those are timeless truths that are just as true today as they were the first moment they were spoken. And one of the things that makes our system unique is that we don't go after any Tom, Dick, and Harry realtor who has a pulse who can fog a mirror, who calls himself a realtor. We go after the elite top dogs who do 15 plus buyer sides a year, who can send you 1, 2, 3 deals a month instead of 1, 2, 3 deals a year. We call them the eagle realtors versus the chickens, the bottom feeders, the struggle bunnies, the part-timers, the mediocre middle. And so we're more of the sniper rifle approach versus the, spray and pray. And obviously to do that, to attract an elite realtor, to attract a 10, we have to be a 10. Water seeks its own level, right? So one of the things that we're really about, and it sounds like you're certainly preaching the same message, is being a practitioner, being someone who leads by example, being someone who is worthy of emulation, because they're not going to want to work with if they know that they're a 10 realtor. And elite realtors tend to know that they're elite, right? If they know they're an elite realtor, they're not going to work with a scrub who's at a 5 when they're at a 10. That's just, whether it's in dating or marriage or, referral partnerships, water seeks its own level. So to attract 10s, we have to be 10s. And that's where, leading by example, being a practitioner, practicing it yourself. So you have the confidence that comes from competence because you're doing it yourself in your own business is mission critical. And so when it comes to like leveraging AI, not just in terms of marketing, but even, when it comes to operations, there's so much application. So it's not just about lead generation, lead conversion. It's also just operations types of things that mortgage professionals could apply to their business and then help their partners do likewise. What are some often overlooked, but exceedingly powerful ways to use AI where a mortgage professional can start to use it in their own business and then go ahead and share it with their partners that would make them their partner's irreplaceable hero if their partner was to apply to their business using AI?
I mean, I'm going to tell you one that's like probably a little bit more complex than the average person. But like, for example, we had today, one of our loan officers talked about how he set up a Hermes agent that helps him basically fill the gaps in his process, right? And he's done this in a compliant way, so he's not giving access to NPI data. It's got his own email, it's got stuff like that. But it actually is like his pipeline manager reminds him every single day. And so on like what's going on with his pipeline, who he needs to follow up with, things like that. And interestingly enough, he was meeting with a pretty big agent. He's in Hawaii. He was meeting with a pretty big agent, and the guy was like blown away by that. And so, interestingly enough, I was like, yo, you just got to be careful. Don't get taken advantage either, because this is a big time guy. Don't tell him you're going to build this out for him if he's not giving you business either. But it's interesting the things that are not being utilized. And I would say from that perspective, it's like, I think through this, like, what are the pain points? Every single time I try to solve something with AI, it's like, is this something that's making me money that I'm currently doing, that I have a process documented for that I could replicate, right? So if I have a documented process on how I write social media content, and I have a consistent way of doing that, and I can document it and turn it into a skill or a plugin or something along those lines, and I have a way to capture it, obviously from a marketing perspective, that's one thing, but it can work for other things as well, right? Like, we have loan officers that have set up their AI to help them with managing their email inboxes and stuff like that. Now, you got to be careful, especially in the mortgage world, because a lot of people receive non-public information into their emails. So just so that you're aware. But yeah, Claude Cowork or ChatGPT Work, just teaching them as simple as teaching someone how to use something like ChatGPT Work. I was just teaching loan officers how to build prospecting lists of stale listings and FSBOs that they could literally do with ChatGPT Work on Zillow, and it just creates the list for them. So now they have an opportunity to reach out to listing agents and provide value there, give them, help them create a 2-1 buy down website for their stale listings that have been sitting for 60 days. Or FSBOs, literally call up the FSBOs and let them know, hey, like, this is, I have a list of agents that I send out a list to. Is it okay if I add you to that list? Would you be willing to pay a buyer's commission if someone brought you a buyer? And, that tends to work pretty well. Obviously, it's a grind, but there's opportunities for you to generate leads yourself and leverage AI at the same time. From the perspective of like agents, is like, where are the holes that what are the things that they're experiencing? A lot of them is possibly lead gen, communication. How can you create better communication structures? Mapping out your entire customer journey. I had, again, one of our loan officers is starting to get busy, and he's like, man, I'm working till like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, well, have you created systems? It's like, we talked about having the time, right? It's like setting up a Zapier automation or setting up a recurring task with something like a Claude Cowork or ChatGPT Work takes time. And sometimes it's a lot of heavy lift at the beginning, but it creates efficiencies. And so a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just keep doing things by themselves. So it's just like delegation, right? We keep doing things ourselves because it's easier short term. It's easier. It's less pain short term, but long term, you're missing out on opportunities.
Right.
And so I think that's another big reason. Going back to your first question earlier on, is like, why do people avoid it? Is, well, the short term pain of the setting up the system the right way causes too much friction, and therefore they don't do it. I think a lot of these problems are solved very specific to each person's problems and tech flows and things like that. I think a lot of people they ask me, what connector should I connect to in Claude Cowork? Well, that depends on what tech stack you're using. Like, what apps are you using? What does your current workflow look like? And mapping that out. And so I know that's a little bit a roundabout way of answering your question.
How important do you think it is to have a propeller head, like a virtual assistant, or, a techie person that maybe you find off Upwork or, somewhere like that, where you can post a job saying, hey, I'm looking for someone who's savvy with these technology systems, Zapier, et cetera, such that you can use ChatGPT in conjunction with someone who's techie, such that you're able to leverage this stuff at a higher level. Like, do you think it's important to have a propeller head techie person in your corner for $15-20 an hour to kind of remove the razor wire, grease the chute, and get you moving forward faster with execution? Or do you think ChatGPT or AI kind of makes that obsolete at this point?
I think the human element's always going to be good, but again, it all goes back to management, right? I mean, now you have to manage someone. Now you should know the thing you're doing. That's what's hard, is like, can you find someone and that's super techie, maybe at that price point, possibly $15-20, you could find someone that is good enough that can understand it, but it still takes time, right?
Yeah.
I would
that's
say
where the friction comes in.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's great because I mean we have several virtual assistants. Obviously we have people doing all kinds of different things, and some of the things they do could possibly be replaced by AI. But then there's other things that are like, okay, they require that human, and then just also having a human that can integrate is great. But I think it's hard. It's for someone like me, like I like to be somewhat of a practitioner, at least somewhat understand what I'm doing so that I know a little bit about what's going on. I don't have to know everything, but I do like to have a basic understanding. And I do think it's important if you're going to delegate something, you have at least a basic understanding of how to do it. It's like sales, trying to delegate sales and you don't do sales very well. Kind of doesn't work very well.
Yeah. At least understanding the framework of it. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'd love to dive in. I know we're already kind of getting close up on time and we've only scratched the surface of the surface. It's crazy how time's flying, but I'd love to dive into some gleaming, beaming, shining examples of some of the mortgage pros you've worked with that have had dramatic, transformative breakthrough results using and leveraging AI, like where we can just give you full liberty to trot out your champion horses, if you will, the ones who've just drank the Kool-Aid, gone all in with your teachings, your star students, if you will. Give us some inspiring examples of a few of your clients that have really, taken your teaching to heart and going all in on it, and the kind of breakthrough results they've generated as a result of that.
We have like all kind of different levels, right? So like I'll just start with kind of the smaller, like people are in the $97 a month platform that we do. We had a guy that basically built his website. This is someone who had never done website before. He built a website. He optimized it for SEO. He started blogging regularly. Within 75 days, he had like a $5 million pipeline of leads. Now, that doesn't mean they all closed, obviously, but he started getting leads from ChatGPT, from Google Business Profile, from his website, started getting agents that went to his profile. And now it's been, I don't know, probably 4 months now, 5 months. And he's closed a couple deals already from basically optimizing his website and creating SEO and stuff. By the way, I'm not an SEO expert. We have taught what we know and passed it along. Obviously, AI helps a lot with that. And right now, we're so early in this that almost no one is doing anything that has to do with the people call it answer engine optimization or SEO or GEO or whatever you want to call it. It's really just a version of SEO right now that can be, I wouldn't say manipulated, but right now I think it's very easy. It's like early days of SEO. It's a really cool play. Optimizing Google Business Profile as well, from a local perspective, it really helps. I mean, we had a loan officer that took our class on a Google Business Profile, how to use AI to kind of help optimize that. She shifted a couple things, started getting leads almost immediately from that. Then she also went and took that training and taught a group of real estate agents about how to use that. And again, she's not an expert at it. She literally was like messaging Marissa, my girl, like, hey, what do I do when this happens? What do I do with this? Like, as she's literally doing a presentation, trying to teach them, because they were like in a building. And so in order to get like not optimized, but what's it called? You have to basically get verified or whatever. So like you have to do it a certain way. You got to do a video. And so she was able to like walk her through on how to do that. And of course, like that started generating business for her as well, from agents, right? Because she went and took this to like the big agents. I have a consulting client I've been working with for the last 13, 14 months. Over that time, we helped optimize their offer, right? So first I helped him clarify his own personal brand, identity, what he stood for, helped him start telling stories, basically copywriting stories, right? Like him telling stories of clients he's helped, but really more so from a personal branding perspective. So he started using that to tell his stories, to start attracting more loan officers to work with them. We helped restructure, again, using AI, and then my background in marketing and business and stuff like that, to help craft a new recruiting offer, helps create a bunch of recruiting assets. We're able to launch an ad to a basically like a recruiting funnel, and off like the first $2,000 in spend, they've onboarded, I think, 2 people, and they have another few people in the pipeline. They're just really having good success. And again, it's interesting because like anything, things take time to build, but it's just been an interesting sort of like transition and building with him to see kind of like the whole world of like from basically using ChatGPT at like a small level to like he's now integrated Claude and he's using Cowork and he's using, these different tools, and now his team's using it and they're helping create all of his content for him for the most part. So he's sending out emails every single week to his list of loan officers. He's creating content for Instagram and Facebook and like all these platforms. And basically it all gets run because of the systems we built for now his assistant to do. So he has an assistant that does a lot of this stuff. Now, not everybody is going to do that. Some people may need to do that themselves, but you talked about having that person. We spent so much time on the front end to fix those systems or to set up those systems that now she can just go and run with it and just build it all on the back end. So I do think it's important to have that person, but I do think you kind of sort of have to build it for them and create the structure so that they can actually be successful.
Man, there is absolute gold you're dropping there, brother. I'm having a hard time keeping up. For real. I got a long list. I know we're just scratching the surface of the surface, but I still have a long list of notes, and I've been having a hard time keeping up, between the FSBO list, the expired list, documented processes. I would concur with that one, by the way. I've created SOPs, standard operating procedures, and playbooks using AI. It's just brilliant. Even with hyperlinks, like hyperlink table of contents with bookmarked spots in the Word doc. So it's like click, click, click. Everything's organized. It's just crazy. Like before when I was coming up as an entrepreneur, I was like, how do these companies create all that documentation? That just is like mind blowing. How does it all work? Right. Well, now we have AI that can whip it up within a matter of a few minutes. It's just crazy. The unfair advantage we have now. But even like your comment around optimizing Google My Business, most people think it's just about getting Google reviews. You get Google reviews and that's all you need to do. But you just gave me a brilliant idea on we have something called Hero Hacks, where we basically create a playbook that the mortgage pro can use for themselves as well as to share with their realtors. Sometimes it's realtor specific if it's unique enough that it necessitates for us to do so, where, it's literally all the prompts are all pre-done. And you just gave me a brilliant idea for doing one, just for optimizing their Google My Business account and then sharing that with a realtor. I mean, that's just genius. So
it was literally,
I'm glad.
So I'll tell you, like, by the way, the tweak was something around like just adding like divorce, something about divorce. I don't really remember exactly what it was because she was more so communicating with Marissa, my second in command, because she's the one that really knows more about Google Business and SEO and stuff like that. But it was like just as simple as like, I think it was like adding divorce keyword to her Google Business profile and making a couple other tweaks. And she already had a pretty optimized one. She's getting reviews, stuff like that. I think reviews are probably going to be your number one thing that you can do. The more reviews you get, the more likely you are to rank in the map pack, answering the right questions, things like that. But it was pretty wild to see. And then she literally went like, this is a class we did for them. It was pretty in depth. Honestly, we have shifted the way we taught it because it was like super like, it was one of our onboarding classes and it was just way too deep for like the average person. But for someone who already kind of had optimized it, it was like perfect. And then she went and found 3 or 4 high producing agents that she could do this for. And they're like, dude, to them, this is like a black box. Like they don't understand what's going on here. So made it even more powerful.
Yeah. Genius. One of the favorite sayings I like to say on the regular for our student population, because it's so relevant and chances are will always be relevant, is that in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It doesn't take much to stand out. And most people are blind when it comes to AI. So to have one eye even, not even 2 eyes, just one eye gives you a massive unfair advantage. You mentioned recruiting. I mean, if we had the time, I'd love to spend, another episode just on recruiting, attracting top talent, retaining top talent. Obviously, we don't have time to get into that today, but I mean, that's a whole other, for people who have their own, brokerage, who have operations team and want to attract top talent on their sales team. For sales managers, I mean, that's a huge leverage point too, is how to use AI to do that smarter, better, faster. But all that suffice to say, if you want more information on that, we'll be giving you an opportunity to connect with Luke momentarily, so you can get it straight from the master himself and get more hand holding on exactly how to do this stuff. Before we wrap up, I would be remiss not to ask you some of the biggest landmines or mistakes. We talked about myths before. What are some of the biggest landmines or mistakes that loan officers are prone to fall prey to? Not because they don't have the best of intentions, but because they just don't have the right information, the right support, the right mentorship. Maybe we can just highlight that before we wrap up and have you share a little bit more about how people can connect with you.
So landmines when it comes to AI?
Yeah, just in terms of like, not just AI in general, but when it comes to using it to grow their business or lack thereof in particular. And maybe it also would be linked, of course, if to give you maybe a little pathway to run on. A lot of people just don't know that they don't know. They don't have the right support, the right guidance, the right mentorship. And so they make a lot of mistakes. What are some of the biggest mistakes?
I mean, you said remiss, so I got to say it too. I would be remiss not to say that, like, you guys are in a regulated industry. So like, don't put credit reports and non-public information into public AI models. I know that sounds obvious to most of us. But it's not. The amount of times I've heard, I won't even get into it, but basically don't do that. That would be the biggest landmine. I even made a post on social yesterday. That was just like a joke that said, like, breaking, loan officer sued for $1 million for vibe coding a CRM and exposing their NPI data. And it got like a ton of views, and people were like, and because they thought it was like a real thing. I'm like, no, that's literally going to be a headline in the next 2 years. I promise. Like, I know for 100% fact, people they're at the peak amount stupid. The Dunning-Kruger effect is very easy with AI to think you know more. And to me, it's very obvious when someone has just found tools like Claude Cowork, Claude Code, Codex, Lovable even, because of how arrogant and stupid they sound at the same time. Because, like, here's the thing, like, when you first start using those tools, you're like blown away. Like, oh my gosh, I can build my own freaking website. I can build my own CRM. But like, what you don't understand is all of the, talking about landmines, all the security issues, the flaws, row level security and XSS and DDoS and a bunch of words you probably have never even heard of, that you have to worry about when you are doing that, and storing data, and having API keys exposed, and there's just a ton of things. So like, I love the power of these tools, but also understanding that you don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot of things that you don't know when it comes to some of those deeper, or building agents, and doing things like that. It's like giving it access to everything. It's like there was the head of Meta, or the head of Meta security, when OpenClaw first came out. She set up OpenClaw, and it was like deleting emails without her, and she couldn't get it to stop. And it was just kind of funny because like she had to like literally disconnect it. Like, that's someone that's like super well versed, obviously, in security and stuff like that. She was unable to do it. So just having that, I would say that's a big thing. Vibe coding, using Claude Code, using Cowork makes you feel powerful, but I think it makes most people stupid, because it makes them believe that they're smarter than they really are. I think AI in general does that, to be honest. I think AI makes you feel like you're better at things. And so I think the best things that you can solve with AI are things that you're already good with. And so a lot of times people try to solve the problem of, like, the amount of people that ask me for an AI avatar to just upload scripts so that it can just do the videos for me. Like, it blows my mind. I'm like, dude, you suck at video already. So what you want to train an AI to create videos that is going to be 60% as bad as you, and you're already bad. So now you're going to have a terrible AI avatar that sucks, that's going to be boring. Like, that's not going to work, man. Like, I know you're looking for the hack. The hack is you have to do the fundamentals. You have to understand, why does AI work for me for copywriting? Because I actually understand copywriting. Why does it work for emails? Because I actually know how to write good emails. Why does it work for my Facebook ads? Because I know how to run Facebook ads.
Yeah. Right? And you know the right prompts to give it.
Well, yeah, but AI is trained off the entirety of the internet. And therefore, we all know the entirety of the internet, like 90% of loan officers probably suck, and 90% of consumers know nothing about mortgage. So if you're a loan officer, you already know way more than everybody else, right? About the mortgage, right? So, like, think about AI as the same thing. It knows everything about everything, which means 90% of what it does is terrible. It's just trash.
Yeah, it's
and
too
the 10%,
general.
The 10% comes from your wisdom. We talked about wisdom. In my opinion, information is dead. It has been for years. YouTube and Google have basically removed information as a barrier to anything. And now even more so with AI, the wisdom to apply these tools, it's the prompt, yes, but it's also understanding, like, what a good output is, what a good process is, right? Like, and I see people bragging, like, I got my AI agent that's posting on my Facebook business profile every single day. A loan officer was bragging about that. And I looked at his page and it was just complete crap.
Garbage.
Zero comments, 0 likes, 0 nothing. I saw someone bragging about their little AI avatar workflow. Cool. I go look at their YouTube channel. 1 view a video. The videos are absolutely terrible. Like, so you spent 40 hours building an automated workflow to create AI avatar videos that are never going to be seen by anybody. They're never going to create business for you. For what? Because it makes you feel powerful? I don't know. Sorry. Now I just got on my rant about stuff like that.
I feel you, man. Beat that drum like a cheap rap song. People need to hear it. And that comes down to the real point, the crux of the matter, which is there's a big difference between activity, AI or not, versus productivity, right? There's a big difference between action and traction from the action. So we don't get paid on AI execution. We get paid on the outcome, an effective outcome from that AI execution. That's what we get paid on. So I'm loving what I've been learning so far. You got my wheels turning, that's for sure. Penny, maybe you can ask. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a, shall we say, baton to pass. I'm passing you the baton as we wrap up today. I know you're very curious about the future of AI and where it's going. So I'll leave that with you to ask Luke, because I'm sure everyone listening would love to hear more about kind of where the future is going with AI, and someone who's this heavy and this much of a active user with AI would obviously give us a very unique perspective. So I'll pass that one to you, Penny.
All right. Fair enough. Beautiful. Well, I'm definitely curious, being in the mortgage industry myself for many, many years. I'm definitely curious, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. So tell us, what is in the future in terms of AI for our listeners and for anyone that is in the mortgage industry? So, I mean, AI, it's interesting because AI is something that it's made this huge impact in the world. But as you mentioned a little earlier in the episode today as well, AI has been a little bit slower on the uptake in the mortgage industry. So what is the future for us in AI for the mortgage industry? Because we seem to be a little slow on the uptake, generally speaking. And I think that is just a finance world type of thing. So what does the future hold for us in the mortgage industry? I'd love to hear it.
Well, I have my theories. I don't know, obviously, if they're going to come true or not, but I agree. I think AI in the mortgage world is generally going to be slower. Obviously, compliance is a big thing. I also think that unfortunately, the way that most executives at most mortgage companies think, there's a reason why a lot of the legacy tech is still around, is because they don't actually understand what's going on at the sort of like originator level. And I just think most executives don't actually communicate very well with their originators, which ultimately should be their client. I mean, the ultimate client for a mortgage company is their loan officers, in my opinion. And I think that's why they roll out terrible tech, because they just are so disconnected, and they're looking for, like, how can we increase our bottom line instead of how can we create better efficiencies for our loan originators to close more deals. So they optimize a lot of times for efficiencies, which, again, when I think about a loan officer doesn't care. A loan officer does not care that it costs you less man hours to complete a file, unless it somehow can relate to better comp for them, better turn times. But even then, like, at a certain point, better turn times doesn't really matter. Like, if you're closing a deal in 21 days, like, does it really matter if you're at 20 days or 19 days or 17 days? Like, unless it becomes the norm, I don't think so. And so what I think that I think one of the dumbest quotes that I've ever heard, and sorry you haven't said this, sorry if you have said this, is you're not going to be replaced by AI, you're going to be replaced by someone who uses AI. I think it's a dumb quote, because I think that it sounds cool, but then you think about, like, what does that actually mean? Well, like, do you really think that if we create automated underwriting with AI, that an underwriter that uses ChatGPT isn't going to get replaced? I'm sorry, I don't think that's true. I think a underwriter that uses AI is going to get replaced by AI no matter what. If that is the way that the industry goes, I think the reality is what is going to keep you from being replaced is being a human. And I know that sounds weird from an AI person, but I do think one of like the core values of how we coach on AI is that the AI, that humanness is your moat. Your moat as an originator, your moat, I think as a company, is how do you optimize for the things that AI can't do? Mm-hmm. It doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have like those types of things. It doesn't have the ability to understand. Now, maybe at some point, I don't know, there will be the singularity, like people say, and it's going to be able to do all this stuff. But at the moment, the thing that humans bring that AI can't is the human element. It's the messy, the raw. And so even when I teach, the marketing fundamentals of posting on social media, it's not that AI is what's creating. We had a guy have like 2.5 million views on social media on one social media post, right?
Wow.
Closed a $700,000 loan, was referred. He closes more deals now, but it wasn't because AI told the story. Yes, AI was the sort of the mechanism that did it, but it was a proven framework, a proven copywriting framework. It was a story. It was his story. It was a real story. And it was just told in a way, again, proven copywriting frameworks, hook, interest peak, value, right? Like it was structured in a certain way, told the story. It was relatable. It created sort of like AI is not the thing that's going to create the result. It comes down to the fundamentals of everything. Processes, marketing, everything that revolves around AI is always going to come down to, in my opinion, the human element of how this all works and how this flows. Because there's going to be certain people that want to talk to only AI and don't want to talk to a human. And I'm sure maybe in 20 years, it'll be different and everybody's just going to be talking to AI. Everybody's talking about voice AI right now. Everybody's talking about all these things. Like, I don't want to talk to voice AI personally, at least not right now. And I'm deep in AI. I don't want to have an AI avatar because no one actually wants to do that. So I think the world, the mortgage, how's it going to change? I think it's going to be more like Canada. I think comp is going to go down. I think loan officers are going to be able to do a lot more with a lot less resources. I think, they talk about there's going to be someone that creates $1 billion one-person business. I think it's going to be similar for the mortgage industry. I think the mortgage industry is going to consolidate. There's going to be less loan officers that do a lot more production because AI has created efficiencies, but they're still, I don't know. That's my opinion. How does it look in operations? We'll see. I mean, AI is pretty good at pattern recognition. So, I think it's going to be okay. I think a lot of the A-paper type stuff is going to go away. Not go away, but it's going to become a lot less. I think you're going to get a lot less money off of that. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I think, like I said, the Canadian sort of like much lower comp structures for loan officers is probably going to be where we're going, but I could be wrong.
Well, one thing I know for certain, that those who don't continue to bring more value to the marketplace with unique, innovative, creative ways of, not only executing, but bringing their human element, the element that AI cannot replace, those who are just, being replaceable cogs in the wheel and doing the minimums, hoping for the maximums, are going to be left behind. They're going to go the way of the dinosaur. They're going to go the way of Blockbuster. And that's why it's not just about learning prompts and using, AI tactically. It's about becoming the best version of you, becoming the best version of the human you that you are. Because at the end of the day, that's the part that makes you irreplaceable and indispensable. That's the part that no AI can ever replace. And so I appreciated that aspect of your answer, Luke, the human element, the empathy, the caring, the concern, the conviction, the commitment, the values of integrity and work ethic and doing excellence for excellence sake, leadership, all that stuff, is part of what makes someone irreplaceable and indispensable. And, that is something that will always be a timeless truth with or without AI. And as we know, AI is here to stay. So now it's just a matter of learning how to use it. And if you're dumb and you don't really know, your head from your toes, then AI is just going to make you more dumb. It's just going to be a magnifier. So that's why you need to invest in yourself. That being said, for those who are listening to this, Luke, and they're like, I could use some help. I could use some mentorship. I definitely feel like I'm kind of on the trailing edge versus the cutting edge when it comes to AI. I'm picking up what you're laying down, Luke. How can I get a hold of you? How can I get with your program? How can I learn more from you? How can people get with you?
Yeah, you can check us out on directauthorityai.com. directauthorityai.com. I just kind of slurred that all together. I get excited sometimes. Facebook is another good platform. I post a lot of value on Facebook. Facebook.com/L Shankula. That's probably my primary one. I'm technically on LinkedIn, but I don't really like it very much.
Nor I. I never go on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is so tough. It just feels like the biggest brown nose fest, and it's just annoying. I know it works, but just like everything, I mean, I think you can pick and choose what you want to do and how you want to work. So I do think, Direct Authority AI, or shoot me a message on Facebook, or you can always email me at luke@loansondemand.io. It is the marketing brain behind everything as well. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I don't know about the audience, but I certainly learned a ton from this. Again, we're just at the tip of the iceberg here. We haven't even covered the fraction of what but this is a little taster. So I hope people listening to this, watching this, got a heightened appreciation for the mastery and the Yoda Smart skill set you have when it comes to AI. And I definitely recommend you guys getting with Luke to learn more about his Direct Authority AI program and getting plugged into his mentorship. I have no doubt you apply even a fraction of what he has to bring to the table, and you're going to become master users of AI. But most importantly, you're going to be able to share that skill set with your partners and become more irreplaceable and indispensable as a hero to your partners as you apply it to yourself and then apply it to your partner's business. So that being said, Luke, thank you for taking the time to be with me. This was very robust and a little bit, extended version of our episodes, where our normal episodes are a little shorter. I couldn't stop you, man. I was like, man, we're just going to let this keep going. If he's going to keep sharing, I'm going to just, let this thing go. And man, oh man, you've been exceedingly generous. I just want to honor you for your openness, your generosity, the ambassadorship that you are to the industry to help elevate the professionalism and skill level that mortgage professionals really need at such a time as this. You're filling a huge void, and just appreciate the fact that you're real and you keep it real and you call it tight. So appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hanging with us today.
Of course, man. And I do have, if you guys want, I can give away, I have a no opt-in or anything. I do have like a document on basically creating a second brain, is like how to basically build a version that you can basically create some documents you can upload into Claude or Chat or any of those that will make it sound more like you, have your context, all that stuff. If you're open to that, I'm happy to share that link with you guys. You guys can just drop it wherever.
Please do, man. Please do.
Awesome, man.
All about it.
Sweet.
So yeah, how do people get that thing?
I was going to just give it to you and you can throw it. I don't know if you got show notes or something, but it's just a Google Doc. I literally have it on a Google. It's just a PDF that I
sweet
give out for fun.
I'll get that Google Doc link from you, and then when our podcast publisher publishes this, we'll have that included in the show notes.
Sweet
beans, man. Thank you in advance. Appreciate it.
Of course.
And again, on behalf of our audience, thank you for taking the time to share your expertise with us today. You've been with the one and only Luke Shankula and my co-host, Penny Wrightley. My name is Doran Aldana. Just remember, if you dug this episode and you feel it's worthy of a 5-star review, please do. It helps us reach more awesome mortgage pros just like you. If you haven't yet done so, please subscribe so you can make sure you are plugged in and stay cutting edge with all the latest and greatest here at Art of Mortgage Marketing Podcast. You don't miss any valuable content. And just remember, as I like to say every time when we wrap up these calls, don't just go to that next level in your business. grow to that next level. That's what this podcast is all about, helping you to grow to that next level, becoming the best version of you. So let's get after it, guys, and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Peace, y'all. Thanks for being with us.